Dear friends, this week we read the portion of Vayigash. Vayigash talks about finally how Joseph and his brothers, who have been estranged for 22 years, in terrible circumstances of jealousy and selling him to slavery, are now reunited as one, like real brothers, with great feeling towards each other and love that's incredible to read about and to see and to feel. How did this come about? This came about because the brothers brought Benjamin back down to Egypt to buy food on the assistance of the viceroy, who was Joseph, but they didn't know it was Joseph. And he said, you better bring down your brother or else I'm not going to sell you food. And they bring down the brother, and the father Jacob is so upset. I don't want him to go down. I already lost Joseph. Their mother died young. And what happened to Benjamin? Gets lost like his brother. He really didn't want to make it happen. But Judah said, I will guarantee his return. And then when Joseph, who planted his goblet in Benjamin's bag, and then it was all a setup, then caught him, wanted to take him as a slave, at that moment, Vayigash Elav Yehuda steps forward to Joseph, and he says, enough is enough. We've been set up. This has not been a reflection of us being thieves. Someone planted this. This is not going to work. And if you really want us as slaves, take me as a slave. I will be a much better, productive person than a younger brother, Benjamin. And at the moment when Joseph sees the love that Judah has for Benjamin and how he's trying to protect him and he's ready to go and be a slave instead of him, he realized the love that exists between the brothers, the love that he's been missing so much. And like the Torah says, "V'nafsho kshura b'nafsho," the soul of Jacob and Benjamin, and really the soul of all of them, are connected to each other, and they cannot allow it to just pass. And that responsibility and care and love is what made Joseph decide this is the moment to reveal my true identity. And fast forward to today. This week has been an incredible event happening right at the end of Hanukkah. While a fellow, Shalom Rabashkin, the proprietor of the largest kosher meat plant in the States, was arrested, put on trial, and judged on an issue that usually will get at most a fine, maybe a little bit of a sentence in prison, but because of anti-Semitism in mid-America, standing out the person with a beard, he was sentenced to 27 years in prison, a punishment that no one ever in American history got for a financial crime as a first-time offender. It was all anti-Semitism. And they were fighting it just to be able to make him an example of a religious Jew who's not going to come into our country, into our place, and just going to do what he wants and how he wants. And the entire Jewish world got behind him. And a lot of money was spent, and prayers were said over the last 10 years, during this whole saga, and the last 8 years he's been in prison. And then President Trump, out of the blue, announced on the last day of Hanukkah that he's commuting his sentence. And the joy that spread around the world instantaneously, across the globe, dancing broke out in the streets. Jews of all stripes were coming together and dancing in joy and celebrating. It was an incredible sight to witness and watch through the internet across the world, which shows the same concept, the sense of responsibility we felt for one Jew who was singled out because they were a Jew. And the joy of him finally being able to come home to his 10 children and be there with them as well. And this is what we witnessed this week in the UN, when the United States, who stood up finally for the truth and said, we're moving our capital to Jerusalem, and the whole world gangs up on America for being there and acting responsibly and like a true friend. But yet America stood strong. America didn't cower. America said, we're going to stand for what's right, and the world will not force us. And perhaps America will start changing the way of the world by realizing you can't get away with lies. It's not going to work. So may God help that this sense of brotherhood and sisterhood and one family and the care for each other, which was displayed in this week's portion we had this week, should really bring us into the era of Mashiach, when we'll display it for the whole world how we really are only one. And if we feel that way and we look at it with joy and with a positive way, we'll be able to make incredible things happen. And may it happen for all of us and all of our families. Now, this Shabbat in Montreal, candlelighting time is 3:56. May God bless every one of you. I love you all. And those who are away on vacation, enjoy, and don't forget who you are. Celebrate Shabbat, and let's bring more light and love into the world.